From the early 2000s set of PTI or Around the Horn, it's the 2 Point Deduction podcast right here on MMAmania.com. Hi, welcome back. We have our cameraman back with us. Clement came back from the ChiliCon Carnival. He apologized. He misconstrued what a con carnival was and tried to swindle a carnival into some sort of Music Man-esque scheme. But he's back now, and that's all that matters. And we have the camera back and the lights, and we've got a big show for you this week on the 2 Point Deduction. We are heading into UFC 248, which is tomorrow night, Saturday night, March 7th. When this podcast drops, it's Friday. We're doing this before the weigh-in, so if Yoel Romero comes in weighing like a cruiserweight or a light heavyweight and not like a middleweight, we will be able to talk about that tomorrow night during the UFC 248 live play-by-play stream featuring myself and Harry Terjanian and Dan A. White. And that will be live on the ESPN MMA YouTube channel. But this week we have Harry Terjanian and Stephanie Sottile playing Fights for Plugs, where they will be watching a classic mixed martial arts fight and giving us their first impressions of a fight they've never seen before, and one of the most legendary fights in MMA. It's Don Frye versus Yoshihiro Takayama. And also we'll be playing Science versus Probability with Stephanie as we break down 3 fights from UFC 248. And I not having a good record. Your boy's not having a good record in Science versus Probability, so I'm going to owe Stephanie a cake more than likely at the end of 20. Okay, Chuck Liddell's in the news, folks, and Chucky, Charles, Charlemagne, stay retired. He announced this week that he is officially retiring from mixed martial arts, primarily because no one will license him. No one will give him a license to fight mixed martial arts because he's 48 years old. He walked bow-legged to the cage and got dusted by Tito Ortiz in November of 2018. And we really should not have that as the lasting image of Chuck Liddell's career, but this is where we are now. But talking to TMZ, Liddell's interested in professional wrestling for the WWE. That's right, a 48-year-old Chuck Liddell probably seeing what Goldberg's doing over on SmackDown, thinking, I can make a run for it and become WWE champion. But he's thinking about fighting The Rock. He said, oh man, I don't know. I don't think The Rock is still in there. He's always fun to do something with. All right, so TMZ, going to tell you straight up. Stop asking mixed martial artists if they're going into pro wrestling. Right here, right now, because you're making everybody look dumb. You're making yourselves look dumb, you're making the fighters look dumb, and you're making pro wrestling dumb. Now, all 3 of those things combined, if you were not within either of those industries, you would be wondering to yourself, hey, man, aren't they all dumb already? No. These are usually pretty savvy people. But when you have Jumpin' Joe Jackass with an iPhone trying to get Chuck Liddell to comment on something that he obviously knows nothing about, it continues to perpetuate the idea that mixed martial artists and people in pro wrestling have no clue what's going on with the other side, or just in general. And I just really dislike that question. And it goes back, and I keep talking about these cultural themes on the show because I'm a nerd and I'm a media studies graduate from NYU, but I talk about people getting concussions for money, so this is where we are in society. The concentric circles around wrestling and MMA. Now, in the fight we show a little bit later on tonight, it's Takayama and Don Frye, 2 people who were both in MMA and in pro wrestling. And those concentric circles get a lot smaller and smaller and smaller when you look at people like Bobby Lashley or Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar, who's not fought a mixed martial arts fight in almost half a decade, is still known as one of the most dominant heavyweights of the last 20 years in the UFC because of his brief but very powerful run in the heavyweight division of the UFC. And you look at the themes from MMA that have made it a draw. You look at Colby Covington, you look at Conor McGregor, you look at Ronda Rousey. MMA learned how to build stars from pro wrestling. And boxing, too, when you look at the over-the-top video packages, if you look at Muhammad Ali, the cornerstone of modern combat sports is Muhammad Ali, who actively took from Freddie Blassie and Gorgeous George, and hell, even maybe one of the fabulous Fargos. Even though, shout out to Between the Sheets, Bo James saying that Ali took a little bit from Jackie Fargo. The timelines don't necessarily link up, but it is still an interesting point of comparison. Because when you look at the success of mixed martial arts, and I'll have David Isaacs on the show in the next few weeks, co-founder of the UFC and a friend of mine, to talk about how the UFC started out as this larger-than-life they wanted to be this larger-than-life thing. It emanated from the Gracie Challenge, which is pretty much the same way how pro wrestling came to be, with the at-shows and essentially the strongman challenge. You had a shooter challenging anybody in the world for an amount of money if he could beat their ass. If that person from the crowd beat the wrestler, beat the shooter, he'd win money. And it's the same thing that the Gracies did, and it's the same thing that those gym wars did in the late 80s, early 90s leading up to UFC 1. And then it turned into who's the baddest motherfucker. And that's what a lot of early pro wrestling was before the slam bang Western style, which was developed by Toots Mondt, who's essentially the forefather of the WWE. And if you can't see how MMA and pro wrestling were on this similar linear track, like we're watching MMA's Attitude Era right now, even though MMA has been in a perpetual Attitude Era. Right now, it's predicated on personalities, larger-than-life characters. The biggest draw in the world is a whiskey-drinking, loudmouth Irishman who got arrested at one of their events. Conor McGregor is a real-life Steve Austin in a lot of ways. And whether you like it or not, the revenue is needed now for the UFC. After this multi-billion-dollar deal to sell to Endeavor, you lost Ronda Rousey. Conor is there and back and there. And you lost John Jones for a significant chunk of time. And now a lot of those are in rebuilding phases. Conor McGregor trying to rebuild himself. John Jones trying to rebuild himself. The UFC heavyweight division had Stipe Miocic, who's a great fighter, seemingly great human being, but not a character. He's not a superhero like Chuck Liddell or an All-American like Randy Couture. They don't have the same bona fides. Stipe Miocic is just a firefighter from Cleveland. But now you have Colby, who can cut a promo, who sits under the Dan Lambert learning tree and basically was taught by people I know how to cut promos. And you look at Israel Adesanya, a guy who came from Muay Thai, but learned how to shit talk and does it really well and knows when and where and why to use it. And then you have Yoel Romero, who's 42, and you know what? His age and El Duque's age are both issues of conflict. He comes from that. He's a Cuban athlete who came to America, and like a lot of Cuban athletes, you don't like Luis Ortiz. He's in his 40s, but people can't figure out if he's actually 40, 42, 48, or 50. And that adds to the lore. That adds to the, this guy, we don't know much about him, but what we do know is that he's insane. And he can't make weight, and if he made weight, would he be world champion if he fought at 205? There's a lot of questions, and that's the great thing about MMA right now, and that's one of the great things about pro wrestling, is that there's stories, there are things to drag you in. You watch Joanna Jędrzejczyk, you're watching it so you can watch her get her ass kicked. You're following all of these stories like Weili Zhang, and we talked about it on the show, had to basically flee her home country and then flee from where she was training in Thailand to not get stuck there because of the coronavirus. Now there's the first major UFC event since the coronavirus outbreak. It's in Las Vegas. It's a fight with international implications in the co-main event and especially in the main event. There's a lot going into Saturday, and Saturday's a fairly weak card if you look past the first two fights. It's a very weak pay-per-view. But you see Chuck Liddell wanting to fight in the WWE, and you're like, the top two fights, that's not that bad. That's a card I'll pay. those two fights are worth the purchase for me just because I want to see what happens. It's the Howard Stern theory. I want to see what they do next. And speaking of what's going to happen next, let's talk about Dana White. Not Dan A. White, but you will see Dan A. White tomorrow night on the ESPN MMA YouTube channel for our live coverage of UFC 248. But Dana White is good friends with Tom Brady. And Tom Brady's a quarterback for Dana White's favorite football team, the New England Patriots. But the Raiders have moved from Oakland to Las Vegas. And beginning this fall, the Las Vegas Raiders will be playing in Allegiant Stadium just a few miles down the road from the UFC Performance Institute. And it looks like the fucking Death Star. And I really want to go to a game there. There will be a GoFundMe link at the bottom of the page to fly me out to Las Vegas and get me a ticket to opening day because go Raiders. But it seems that Dana White, during an Instagram Q&A, and you can find all of these stories at MMAmania.com, said, first of all, I'm a Boston guy through and through, White said during an Instagram Q&A. I want you to go to the Patriots, but let me make my last pitch. Las Vegas would love to have you here with the Raiders. The stadium, the facility is incredible. The training facility they have outside of Vegas is unbelievable. It's a 45-minute flight from L.A. Your kids and family could live there. Come on now, brother, get to Vegas. And this thread goes back to earlier in the year when Mark Davis, the man with the bowl cut who looks like Pizza the Hut, or if James Dolan was melting like at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, was talking to Tom Brady, who is a minority owner in the UFC. So already, there's a lot of MMA, there's a lot of UFC-related tea, and yes, I said tea, in the Tom Brady free agency story. And you really don't know where Tom Brady's going to go and whether or not he's going to finish his days in San Francisco, New England, Tennessee's in play, for God's sake. As an MMA fan, people may not care. But as an NFL fan, it's very interesting. And the 42-year-old Brady is basically saying, you know what, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going to go. I'm going to take a vacation with my family, and then I'm going to figure it out. March 13th is, I believe, the start of free agency. And I don't care if you watch football every game or you have a tangential interest or you just watch for the commercials. You're going to be looking at your phone. You're going to be looking at Twitter, scrolling through all day waiting to see what happens with Tom Brady. Because that is going to put the sports world into a hostage situation. Because anything that happens in sports is going to be put on pause. No one's going to care about spring training. No one's going to be caring on what's going on in the NHL or the NBA or any other signings in the NFL because everything's going to be put on pause culturally until Tom Brady makes a decision. And that March 13th date plays into what's going to happen next for the city of Las Vegas. And if they sign Tom Brady, if the Las Vegas Raiders sign Tom Brady, I believe that International Fight Week or the New Year's Eve show will take place at the stadium for the Raiders. And it will be a Conor McGregor fight. Because then and there, the whole sports world will be focused on Las Vegas. And if you can couple, and if you look at the NFL schedule, and you can couple a Raiders home game or an away game, like if you have a Raiders Monday night game, and ESPN can make this work because ESPN has the rights to both the UFC and to Monday Night Football. And if you're ESPN and you're looking at the deal you have with the UFC, and you look at the deal you have with the NFL, and you're like, I can put a UFC pay-per-view inside the stadium on a Saturday night, and then on Monday night, I can have the Raiders play who cares in one of the final weeks, if it is the New Year's Eve, if it's the final card of the year for the UFC, which is usually in late December. It's either right before Christmas or right after Christmas. And you could put right in the middle of the playoff rush a Monday night game in Las Vegas the same weekend as the UFC having an international having their final pay-per-view card of the year. How do you not do that? How do you not try to set that up? How do you not subtly let the NFL know, hey, here's an option here. There's something in play. Now, the schedule obviously is out, and there will be people commenting online like, this is a fucking flex games. It's the end of the season. They can flex whatever games they want to wherever they want. And if you're the NFL, why aren't you going along for the ride? Because that's more revenue. That gets you more fans. That gets you more eyes. You get Tom Brady there this Saturday night in the stadium, waving, saying hello, promoting himself to a new audience. People are going to be like, oh, shit, Tom Brady's a Raider? I didn't know that. And these are people who probably don't watch football all that much but know who Tom Brady is, and they'll watch on Monday. And if you're the NFL, you're like, hey, anything to get a bigger rating, anything to get more eyes on the product, anything to make sure this Las Vegas move sticks. Because this move can show for the NFL, because Las Vegas has been a bugaboo town for the NFL for decades. And it's been a town that, thankfully for the Vegas Golden Knights, has been able to yield respectability as a sports town. So you do that, and you can make a case for a London expansion or a Mexico City expansion, Toronto, which has been a market that's maligned forever. And then you're some of these teams that are on the cusp of maybe moving or having some less than ideal stadium situations. And then you can make the case to kind of put together these different things as well. Or if you're a stadium, or if you're an NFL team that owns a stadium and it's a dome stadium, maybe you're looking to do something like that yourself. Try to package these things together with ESPN. It creates a new economic variable for all three parties. Because for the UFC, you can sell this entire weekend as an experience. If you're the stadium, you can package or bundle tickets together. If you're the team, you already probably own or have a piece of the stadium. For the cities and for the hotels and the hospitality in the town, you may be doubling or tripling what you could have made from either thing. If you're bars, you have this entire experience set up. It's easy money. It is easy money for something like that to happen. And if it doesn't happen, well, then I've just spent this entire time talking about fucking nothing. But someone may try to pull that off. And it wouldn't be a terrible idea. And also that would be where Conor and Khabib have their second fight, or Conor would be fighting Masvidal for the BMF belt, or it would be a Conor McGregor fight, or something so high level, the UFC would pull out all the stops to sell that stadium out. They would go beyond the pale to make that a success. And then the UFC has a new tentpole show every year, even though that December show is kind of one. You do that and you make that stadium show every year that you have circled on your calendar. It will be I believe the effects, and I believe that the ramifications of it would be so that it would be recession-proof in theory. And speaking of theory, this is a fight that's good in theory. And it's Amanda Nunes' next fight, where just after a TKO victory over Zarafame dos Santos at UFC Norfolk, Felicia Spencer will get her chance to fight for the 145-pound title against Amanda Nunes at UFC 250 on May 9th in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And Nunes, who holds the title at 135 and 145, would be fighting for the first time since her most recent victory back towards the end of last year. And this would be Spencer's first chance at a title inside the octagon. And the Phenom, coming off of a big win last week, took a loss to Chris Cyborg at UFC 240. She came close, but she fell on the scorecards. And this would be a big fight in Brazil for Nunes, coming home, defending her title in Brazil for the first time since winning either of the titles. And will be joining a fight that is going to a card that has Antonio Rogerio Nogueira and Mauricio Rua. And also on the card is going to be Antonio Nogueira taking on Mauricio Shogun Rua. And then in the main event, it's Henry Cejudo and Jose Aldo for the bantamweight title. And this will be Cejudo's first fight in over a year since earning the bantamweight title and going up against a killer like Aldo, who did not look good in his weight cut for bantamweight the last way round, but you still want to watch that fight. Cejudo, one of the biggest, the Andy Kaufman of mixed martial arts, the king of cringe, going up against one of the most decorated mixed martial artists in UFC history, one of the most highly regarded athletes in UFC history. And much like Israel Adesanya going after Yoel Romero this weekend, Cejudo is legacy shopping because he may want to walk away after this contract, and he's trying to get as many big names on his list as humanly possible. And he may move up to featherweight. He may try to make a move up to 145 after going at flyweight and then making the move up to bantamweight. You could see that move up to featherweight happening with a win against Aldo, because it seems like there's not a lot for Cejudo to do, at least according to him, at least in his mind. He wants to just keep collecting things. It's not about building a long-term legacy at one specific weight class, because as Chael Sonnen has said before, those days seemingly are gone. There's going to be people bebopping and rocksteadying around different weight classes, and some of it's just going to be natural progression or development, or it's going to be an elite fighter who thinks that he can make these victories and make these weights and just continue to add, like in boxing, like what Canelo Alvarez has done. He has held titles all over the weight class spectrum. Manny Pacquiao, an 8-division world champion in boxing. Mikey Garcia, multiple division world champion in boxing. It's something in mixed martial arts that's not the norm, but this is a 25-year-old sport, 26-year-old sport. And we really can't expect fighters to just stay at one weight class for the entirety of their career. It's a little silly. It is obvious that as the sport continues to grow and we learn more about how fighters are cutting weight or more natural ways to gain and lose weight, that more fighters are going to be moving up and down depending upon the best possible outcome for that fighter. And we're seeing it with Aldo, who's moving up, who was fighting primarily as a featherweight, was one of the greatest featherweight champions of all time, but now has gone down to bantamweight. That's insane. And then you see a fighter like Amanda Nunes, who's fought at 145, fought at 135, and now is defending her 145 title and is trying to bounce back and forth because she wants to be the greatest female fighter or the greatest fighter of all time. And John Jones at some point is going to move up to heavyweight, and we've made that abundantly clear on this show. But it's going to be one hell of a card. It's going to be one hell of a fight. And right now, we're going to go to one hell of a fight as we go back in time, go back to 2002, as Don Frye and Yoshihiro Takayama square off in Pride. But instead of it being Morrow or Bas Rutten or anybody else, not Stephen Quattros, it's Stephanie Sottile and Harry Terjanian in the first edition of Fights for Plugs right here on the 2 Point Deduction podcast.
I'm just trying to be helpful before we start the
you're trying to help Ike.
I'm trying to be helpful before we
That's how you help.
You
help like Ike Turner thinks he helped.
Okay, then.
There we go.
So you guys are going to have to watch this full fight and react to it.
Okay.
And then at the end of it, you can plug what you're doing.
Okay. All right, here we go. This is oh boy. This is really old UFC. I know Don Frye, and I've never seen Don Frye with a goatee.
This is not this looks like one of the starter screens to Street Fighter 2.
Yeah.
They always show, it was
Yoshihiro
E Honda
Takayama.
and Guile.
Yeah, he does look. This is very. These are old graphics. Like this is like
This isn't paused, right? This is like still going.
No, it's paused. All right, do we hit the play?
Do we hit the? Okay, I was like, look, I memorized their freaking names by now.
Here we go. Don Frye versus Yoshihiro Takayama. Ooh, it's in ropes. This is in Japan.
I thought that was Morrow.
That's Psy. That's rapper. That's hip hop star Psy.
No, that's Patton Oswalt.
Oh, jeez. Or Greg Proops.
Oh, this poor bastard.
It does look fantastic. He's wearing sunglasses and a very dimly lit, what I assume is a Japanese.
That pinky ring. Look, I'm not saying a word because that pinky ring means gang and or
You
the
think
mob.
he might be part of the Yakuza? The Yakuza has never played a part in any type of combat sport.
Yeah, look, I don't.
This is from Pride? Oh, yeah, it says Pride down there, right?
Was
Pride.
it in June?
No, that's a different type of Pride. That's a different set of two men coming together.
I mean, it's
all good.
Awesome either way.
It's all good either way, yeah.
I mean,
but
I've definitely seen these shorts in both.
This one is probably, I mean, this is more than likely not going to end in two men getting married. But I don't know. It might.
I'm really proud of Freddie Mercury and or Tom Selleck.
Okay, yeah, Don Frye
to have
does.
an entirely different successful career than what they did.
If Freddie Mercury didn't die and decided to start drinking creatine,
yeah,
that's what Don Frye would
like what Jon
like.
Favreau did in that very, very early episode of Friends, where he was dating Monica and was really buff, and then you watch it and feel bad for Jon Favreau.
So this is interesting. They have some production value. Some of it is they have a ramp, but then they have like a scaffolding thing that the guy is lowered in front of. So it's like the half of each. It's like high production value because they have screens and
the
entrances.
Iron Sheik is here. I'm so excited.
The Iron Sheik? Oh.
Right here. Stop. Just wait. Come on, move your American
Move Don
dick
Frye.
out of
You're
the
saying
way.
one of the guys?
No, come on, he's right there.
Oh yeah, that does. His corner man does look like the Iron Sheik. This is so weird.
What's he gonna tell? What's his as a coach? What is gonna be his advice to this young man right here?
If it's the Iron Sheik,
If
he's
it's the
gonna
Iron
tell
Sheik.
him to break his back,
Exactly.
put him in the camel clutch, break his back,
Yes.
fuck his ass,
Oh,
and
that's
then
important.
make him humble. That's the
don't you
Iron
get
Sheik.
you don't get a deduction for that? A 2-point deduction.
I guess you're allowed to break his back. You're allowed
But what
to
if
make
you
him
make
humble.
him? Are you?
You
Do you
are
get-
allowed to put him in the camel
There's
clutch.
no disciplinary action if you fuck his ass.
The only thing you cannot do, I
This
believe.
is Pride.
Yeah, it is Pride. The apparently gay friendly mixed. I know this guy. This guy is a Japanese wrestler, right? That's what is his name again?
Yoshihiro Takayama.
Takayama. Yeah, I'm familiar with him from New Japan. It's always weird when these the Japanese wrestlers get into the mixed martial art. Don Frye represented the red, white, and blue wearing his Budweiser
illegal?
flag shorts.
Isn't that illegal? Isn't that desecrating the
Technically,
flag?
it violates the code of how the flag is supposed to be represented. You're
mean,
not supposed to turn it into clothing.
God bless America.
But
No, sorry,
you're not supposed to wrap the flag around a tight bulge.
It's not. I mean, that's not how our forefathers wanted it.
Takayama. Now I know. Well, I wouldn't mess with Takayama for sure in real life. But as far as MMA goes, Don Frye is chiseling. Takayama is a stare down.
Yes, it's really hot.
The stare down, and then the ref is just letting that happen.
He looks so uncomfortable.
Usually the stare down involves like the ref giving them some instructions, and now the ref steps in. This is the first time I think I'm watching a full Pride fight, to be honest with you. And he pats them on the head.
Because telling them that they're good boys. Good boys, everybody.
Apples for you after the show. And are you watching the fight with us? Or no, you can't see it? Or?
Have
No.
you seen this fight before?
Yes.
Okay, you've
cool.
seen this before.
Now, you were asking, I believe.
Wow, Don Frye is in great shape.
You were asking, I believe, online for some suggestions. Did this come from one of the many?
Oh, okay. They're starting up just very. I've never seen a fight stance like this where two guys just grab each other's necks and start punching each other in the head.
Again, different kind of pride.
Yeah. And then a couple knees, but they're not letting go. And Takayama's not pulling away. Jesus.
I'm sorry, were we actually supposed to call this fight?
No, we're just supposed to react.
Awesome.
Oh, they're just punching each other with no regard to, like, protecting themselves.
Isn't that the point of the fight?
Yeah, but normally when you get hit.
Is that the whole point of boxing? Now I sound like Bernie Sanders.
Right.
Is that the whole point of boxing?
Well, no, the point of
They're
boxing
supposed to hurt
is
each
not
other
to get hit.
With no concern for the other person.
Well, they are going to both. They're in Japan.
That's why we
so
need
they have-
healthcare.
They have
you can
universal.
find yourself in a boxing ring
They have
with Tom Selleck.
He is a handsome Tom Selleck here. And now they both have tired each other out because they spent the first 30 seconds just punching each other as hard as they could. So now it's a bear hug thing. And I forget, I'm so used to professional wrestling. I'm like, why isn't the ref breaking up this? They're in the ropes.
How long? I thought there was a rule where if
In wrestling, it's a count of 5.
no, but I thought in other sports, I thought there's like a limit to how long you can.
Not in mixed martial arts. In boxing, it is because Boxing, you're only supposed to punch each other, so you can't wrap somebody in the ropes and keep punching them.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Right. Oh, okay. A very
Got
sloppy
a text message,
kind of
Matthew.
take down a knee,
Who's
another
that?
knee, and then they go back to punching each other in the head again.
Is that John Frye on the phone? Tell me you did a
Don
good job. He's a
Frye.
good boy.
Don Frye.
I saw a J earlier. I
It's
thought it
Don.
said John.
This was back when they could wear shoes. And the referee is just kind of like cheering him on. Like he's just excited, like, come on.
He looks like he got shot in the head.
And then they tired each other out again, so now they're slow dancing once again. Ooh, Takayama is.
Had the time of my life.
Yeah.
And never felt this way before. It fucking works.
It
So
does
why
work.
do you tell me it doesn't work?
I mean, if
It looks
he
like
lifts,
he got a sniper shot in the middle of
if
his
Don
forehead.
Frye, oh jeez, he does look.
Just a singular little wound in the
Either
head.
that or he just came out of a church on Ash Wednesday.
Was
and
he
they
in-
ran
was
out
he,
of
Was he in a
ashes.
match with Jeff Cannonball?
Oh jeez, so inside. No one's gonna get that on this thing. And again, they're just tired each other out. This is sort of a bear
How
hug.
long are our rounds?
Are there rounds in this?
Are there
in
even
Pride?
rounds?
There were rounds. They were like 15-minute rounds.
Oh,
Are you kidding
Jesus,
me?
Good Lord.
You want us to sit here for the entire 15 minutes?
Well, I'm assuming that it doesn't
Can we get
go
the TLDR version?
the TLDR?
I mean, too long didn't read, but you
Oh,
know,
okay.
TLDW didn't watch.
Too long didn't watch. Oh, another knee. And Takayama is.
The first round was 10 minutes.
Just
Okay.
10
I
minutes.
mean, how
Well,
long
this-
are we on now?
Well, we don't want to spoil it. I mean, I assume,
What year is this from, Matthew?
what year is this?
What
yeah.
year is this? I'm going to guess by the hairstyles at the very minimum 1984.
It's Japan. It's
Oh, okay. 1997?
Japan. You can't tell. This was either shot in 64 or last
what I'm
week.
saying.
Yeah.
This was in 2002.
Wow.
2002.
Okay.
Okay. It's weird. The TV quality in Japan is. It's just. They've
So
always
we're
had this
gonna-
level, though. If it makes
So
sense.
you don't want to spoil an 18-year-old match.
Well, what's the point of us watching? I think we're supposed to get the reaction. I mean, I don't want to tell Matt how to do his
a
job,
lot of
even though
reacting
I already
here.
did with the audio.
So it's my turn. It's a lot of reacting. There's only so much I can say about that poor man's mustache.
Oh, Don Frye.
It's gonna be awful if you. What is that hairline?
It's a
What
kind
is
of a
that
receding
hair-
hairline.
No, that's on purpose. That looks.
he didn't cut it like
that looks like a Tetris screen.
It's a widow's peak. No one does that on
I
purpose.
mean, it looks real square.
It's not square.
Like somebody. Do you see what I mean? Like someone purposely chucked some razors and.
what?
What do you use?
Did a divot in the
What do you
thing?
use? Electric shaver.
For my head?
Yeah. When
I
you
don't-
want to look like a Tetris screen, what do you use?
I guess you'd use clippers.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It
No,
looks like
that
someone did
just
that
looks
on
like
purpose.
that's a fine head of hair there. It's a bit of
It's
a.
haircut you can't
Would
set
you
your
call
watch
that
to.
a widow's peak? I guess.
No, it would come to a peak. That is a rectangle.
Oh, okay. I don't think he shaved that into his head. I think that's his natural hairline, Steph. I don't know that Don Frye was known very much for his hairstyles. I think he maintained the same. And the ref finally
I can see why.
separate. Oh, Don
Take
Frye's
your
mouth
treat.
guard
Take
fell
your
out.
treat.
He's not giving him treats. Here you go. Oh,
What are they
Jesus,
doing in Japan? Give them treats.
Takayama's face is busted up, and now they're going to call in the fight doctor, who is just going to look at him and go, well,
You're doing a shit job.
you're alive, so you keep going.
Have you ever heard of, I know they play sometimes these noises. Have you ever heard a coach say something like that? Stop fucking up out there. Like something like
all
that.
the time. Yeah,
Like
yeah, they're
no
like-
good actual workable advice. Just like stop being a shithead.
I
and
think
get
stop
back
being a
out there.
shithead is actual workable advice. If you're being a shithead in a fight, if you're being a real
No strategy, no like he's going to his right, you go here, do this, stay on the ground, do more whatever. Just
Oh,
like
his nose
stop
is
fucking up.
broken. No, it is just like, hey, get in there and stop fucking around.
Great,
Stop
awesome.
fucking around is
So
great
I
advice.
can do that job.
And they go right back to punching each other in the head, zero regard. There's no sweet science kind of dancing back and forth, to avoid getting punched in the
I
head.
thought that was a semicolon on the back of his shirt. Like that was their logo.
On whose shirt?
The ref.
Oh, I don't know what their logo is. Come on, and some knees from Takayama. Oh, this is just more punches.
Are they allowed to call it? Like, can someone just call this?
Well, you mean stop it?
yeah.
Yeah, corner man can throw in the towel, but it's
Alright.
Japan. They're not doing that. They'll
What-
kill the corner man over there for throwing
What are you
in the
implying?
towel. Oh, finally.
Hot.
finally, Don Frye
this is
lands
the point in Undressed on MTV where they would cut to commercial.
Undressed?
Undressed.
Oh, that was that that
The
college soap
softcore
opera?
porn. Yeah, it was softcore porn soap opera.
I remember
for
they'd air
MTV.
that at like midnight or something on
Yeah.
MTV. Yeah.
Just edges you on forever. But this shit.
Edged you on forever. It was a softcore porn thing on MTV. You want full penetration?
Look, I didn't ask much as a 14-year-old girl.
All you had to do was watch The Grind or Singled Out. So you were picking the wrong show.
Singled Out is way too much talking.
Yeah, but I mean,
Way too much talking. What's wrong with you?
what would I? Oh, Takayama trying to protect himself. And it's over. It's over.
Oh, there we go.
What does it say? Stay protective is the back of the referee's shirt?
I
And
mean,
Takayama,
he did a pretty good job of doing that. Not so much him.
well, the referee is all right. And confetti goes into the air, which is probably not great because there's open wounds
Great.
everywhere.
I had a cup of coffee.
Oh.
Now it's ruined.
Takayama's nose
That's
is...
everybody in the audience.
Takayama looks like a baby that just came out of the womb. Like a grump, that grumpy baby meme? That's what Takayama looks like. Don Frye's team celebrates. Oh, Don Frye
See, I guess that was good advice. Don't fuck up out there.
Don't fuck up. Oh, my goodness. And now they're going to try to treat Takayama on the floor.
I can still get him. I can still get him. It's fine. It's over, sir. It's okay. I can still get him.
What the fuck? Oh, his lip is kind of swollen. So, oh, my goodness.
Why? I'm good.
Why?
I'm good without more interaction with his face.
No, I mean, that's the whole point. Don Frye is, oh, my God.
Let's cut back to it. There's going to be bones coming out. That's fine. We'll keep
Every
keep
version
on
of Takayama is, he looks like a kid who got woke up too early during summer vacation. These women with the big dollar bills, not a check. Oh, he's hammer fisting Takayama. And finally, the referee.
So are they going to show stats? Like, did he get any offensive in it all?
I mean, Takayama got some offense in. Oh,
Yeah.
now the replays are just...
Are they going to show that at all?
Stay protective.
Any
yeah.
offensive moves? None.
Is what the referee shirt. He got some offensive moves in there.
I mean, in the form of mean looks, because
I mean, look, it looks bad.
looks a little bit one-sided.
It's Takayama still wrestling? No.
He suffered brain damage.
That's surprising,
Wow.
but not from this fight. Oh my.
Why would you do that? Purposefully do this?
That's what fighters do,
It looks
Steph.
like an alien.
Ooh, Don Frye?
No, the logo.
Takayama. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, it does look like a scorpion or an alien. They just keep.
He's gonna be in a coffin, and stop cutting back to him.
My God, his face. And then they just show replays. That's the start of the fight. The two of them just punching each other in the face.
Nuts.
Don Frye did a better job of landing him on the face. Takayama did a little bit more on the side of his head, I guess. Oh, and his Budweiser shorts. I just keep calling them a Budweiser
They're
shorts.
not. They're American flag.
They're the American flag.
Oh, and now they're friends.
They're friends. That's
So
the
this
beauty
was
of...
the point of...
Unfortunately, it's not like
is-
pro wrestling where, he'll take his hand and then attack
He's
him.
going to attack him.
Which I would love to see. It does happen in boxing, though. I don't know what Don Frye's going to say here. That's an interesting part. He's about to take the microphone. If I can change.
He's going to point at the sign.
Yeah.
Going to WrestleMania.
Go and rest. And that's the end of the fight. Wow. That was rough. Yeah, that was rough.
Mm-hmm.
That was rough. That's the end of the clip there.
Was he okay?
I mean, we just found out he's got brain damage, right?
But besides that,
I mean,
what does he do for
you
work?
mean does his dick still work? What else is there? It's brain damage.
His career ended in 2017 when he suffered a spinal cord injury, which paralyzed him from the shoulders down.
Oh, Jesus.
Good Lord, is he still paralyzed? It happens. People get unparalyzed. What do you mean? What are you laughing at that?
No, he's still, he is.
Jeez.
He's still paralyzed from the waist down?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's
Well,
not,
that was
he's
not
he's
so
not
much fun.
okay.
No, he's not okay at all. Wow, that was a
Right.
bummer.
Thanks. You
So I
coulda-
guess
make something up next time.
Well, he hurt himself wrestling,
He
though, right?
he like just say he won the lottery and opened a carnival. Like make something up next time.
Well,
There's AJ Styles.
that's the next video is AJ Styles, who's not an MMA fighter, and this is AJ Styles with his short haircut, which
also looks like he looks like he's recruiting for the army.
Yeah, he does look like a UPS driver.
All right,
Wow. All right, that was.
final thoughts.
I mean, you had my beginning, middle, and end thoughts. I don't know how many more do you need.
Well, Don Frye, right? He's a Hall of Famer, right?
Oh, what happened to him? Is he okay?
I think Don Frye's already. He's in the UFC Hall of Fame.
Does he own a carnival?
Why would he own a carnival?
I
again?
don't know if it's something fun. He could be doing better.
I have a Don Frye story. Actually.
What's your Don Frye story?
At Cage of Death 10.
Cage of Death 10. Cage of Death 10.
A
He was there,
professional commentator.
demanding someone throw a fish into the from the crowd for a fans bring the weapons match.
A live fish?
I believe there was a live fish.
How was it live? Someone brought a
Like
cooler.
from a body of water, or like just like an entire fish you find at the store?
The etymology or the life story of that fish, but I just know that he was yelling.
I think that's the right word. Yeah.
That's it.
That
Did
Don
he-
Frye.
Did someone throw a fish?
Yes.
What did he do with the fish?
He was in the audience as a spectator.
Oh, so he wasn't
Just
involved
out
with
of
the
nowhere,
show.
I look behind me and there's Don Frye
I understand.
demanding a fish be thrown.
You
Okay.
both experienced this confusing occurrence together.
Oh,
Understood.
okay.
How was your hairline?
That's
All right,
fine. Yeah,
awesome.
it's better than Don Frye's.
You're doing already better.
Don Frye, UFC Hall of Famer, so he's done okay by himself.
Yeah.
But that wasn't a great fight. It was tough. He was tough, but you don't see any of the. Did he? How long was he in the UFC?
He was only in the UFC for about a year or so.
What years would that have been? Do you know? Because
While you're looking that up, I have a more important question. Did he wear any other country's flags as trunks?
I don't think so. Don Frye was U.S. all the way.
I know, but you can show your appreciation for another country.
No, you can't.
You can wear France,
No, this
Australia,
is not professional wrestling. He didn't become an Iraqi sympathizer
Canada,
like Sergeant Slaughter did.
Tanzania. I appreciate all these other countries. You can.
The UFC 8 tournament in Puerto Rico.
Okay, so this was back in the day.
Defeated the UFC until UFC 10, where he lost to Mark Coleman.
Was he wearing an American flag? I think that would answer our question.
This was
That's
after
what
his
happened.
UFC run.
Yes.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. This is a bit
Yeah, this was,
it's a bit older,
several years after.
but he's still a badass. Don Frye is a badass with a
I agree.
mustache.
The Tetris hairline.
So, what's your plug, guys?
Oh, you could check us out. We are the Unwanted. We perform
Yes.
together as a sketch group,
Yes.
and we're doing a show at the Stand on March 18th and
Yes.
April 1st.
Yes, that is. Those are both Wednesdays, and they are both at 9:30 p.m. The tickets are $10,
And you can
which is very cheap because it's New York and everyone's dying slowly.
and also, if that's not enticing enough, people dying. There's the code. Use the code Unwanted. It's $5 off.
Yay!
So
there
it's
you go.
$5.
You can
in New
also
York
find
City.
us individually as well because we are individual people. We don't complete each other. You complete yourself. My Twitter handle and Instagram and TikTok, for no reason, is God's Unwanted Daughter. It's an easier way to find me because my last name is
everything
confusing.
Is that now?
Yeah.
I thought it was all Steph Sottile.
No, that is my real name. Last name spelled Sottile. But if you search God's Unwanted Daughter, you will also find my
Okay.
face. So my last name is confusing.
Everything I have is at Harry Terjanian, and that's it. I don't have a
Terjanian.
I don't have a TikTok because I'm banking that fad will end. I'm not gonna be.
I just like watching funny videos. And
That's fine.
Ones with dogs and bunnies.
All right. So next week, do you want more violent or less violent?
More.
Yeah, I don't see how less violent would do us any good.
What are we, Mormons?
We gotta keep going further and further.
Yeah. And with more interesting trunks.
There we go. That's Steph's request. More interesting ring attire.
And or hairstyles. It's okay.
It is time for science versus probability. Last week, Steph was up 7-5 against me. Now the score is 9-6.
Still me?
Still you.
Hey.
Taking a look as Steph went 2 for 2 last week, picking both Felicia Spencer and Davison Figueiredo.
Congratulations to them.
Indeed, and I went 1 for 1 because I picked Felicia Spencer, and Joe Benavidez got headbutted and technically lost his fight.
Oh, see?
So we're going to go through 3 of the fights.
Okay.
First up, we'll do the main event.
Mm-hmm.
It's Israel Adesanya, the last style bender, going up against Yoel Romero, the soldier of God, for the UFC middleweight title.
The last style bender.
Yes.
That, for some reason, sounds like something straight out of Doctor Who. Like just an alien species that we've never heard of. And what was the other one?
The Soldier of God.
The Soldier of God. Aren't we all soldiers of God? I'm pretty sure
I guess.
I don't know. I don't read the Bible. I'm technically part Jewish. I guess. I don't know.
Not technically, you are.
I'm not. My mom, look, there were photos of Jesus all around my house when I was a teenager. My mom stopped being Jewish a long time ago. She left the desert. She doesn't care what's there. So I think I'm going to go with the style bender.
All right, so I'm also going with Israel Adesanya. Romero, coming off of 3 straight losses, has missed weight his last 2 opportunities at the 185-pound title. This is being recorded before the weigh-ins on Friday morning, so we're not sure whether or not he makes weight. We saw that happen last week with Figueiredo. He was over. We'll see what happens this Saturday, but both of us picking Israel Adesanya.
There you go.
Next up, another title fight. It'll be a battle for the UFC strawweight title. It's Zhang Weili, the Magnum, going up against Joanna Jędrzejczyk, whose nickname is Champion.
Listen. Not a one of you is going to use the term Magnum and mean it. It's a scientific fact.
You know it's a Chinese woman.
Look, what?
Again, it's a Magnum, like the gun.
Oh, see, I was.
Or Magnum TA.
I don't listen when you say the names. I just listen for the nicknames because that's where the science is being pulled from.
Mm-hmm.
You give me data that's not necessary. I don't need to know their
I
real
said the
names.
name Joanna.
Yeah, again, I listen when the second that you give me the scientific data that I need, my very, very highly intelligent brain just starts going. It's just a machine that doesn't stop. So I don't take in your unnecessary pieces of information like their birth names.
I get treated with more respect by the fucking puppet.
I'm going to go with Joanna, the champion.
All right.
Already in her name. She's going to win.
Yeah, Joanna, and no, I think that Zhang is going to pummel her unmercifully for 5 rounds and then remain as the champion. Last time we saw Jędrzejczyk fight for a title, she lost to Valentina Shevchenko, who is one of the best fighters on planet Earth. She was not able to withstand Rose Namajunas. If you look at both of them in their combined opponents, their comparable opponents, both of them beat Tisha Torres and Jessica Andrade. But Zhang's victory over Andrade was one of the most emphatic victories in UFC strawweight history, and that's following Andrade's devastating knockout of Rose Namajunas. So I am going with Zhang right there. She's going to retain the title. And if I'm wrong, you'll find out live this Saturday night at 10 p.m. on the ESPN MMA YouTube channel, as me and Harry Terjanian, along with Dan A. White, will be bringing you the UFC 248 live coverage right here on the ESPN MMA family of networks on the mothership ESPN MMA YouTube channel. And Steph, time for a final fight.
Oh, okay.
Jose Alberto Quiñones, El Tico, which translates to the ceiling, battling against Sugar Sean O'Malley.
See, sugar melts in water. And I would assume that these fighters get very sweaty men.
Sweating, sweat, yes.
Yeah, Ken Kratz's favorite type of men. Or they dissolve in water, and fighters drink a lot of water. So I feel like sugar is going to fall under the pressure.
Well, Sean O'Malley's been undefeated inside the octagon. Won fight of the night at UFC 222, his last fight, but he's also been out for 2 years due to injury and some issues with some performance-enhancing drugs. On the other hand, Quiñones has been 6-1 in his last 7 fights. It's a hard one. It's a toss-up. It's sadly going to be on the prelims, but we'll give you some live coverage on that on the MMA Mania Twitter account. Live tweeting all night long. I'm going to go with Sean O'Malley.
Okay. I'm going to go with the ceiling.
All right, so Steph going with Quiñones. I'm going with O'Malley. Steph going with Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I'm going with Zhang Weili. And both of us are taking the last style bender, Israel Adesanya, in the main event of UFC 248. That's this Saturday night, and you can watch the live coverage right here on the ESPN MMA YouTube channel. Go over there right now. Click the subscribe button. I know I said here, but be also to subscribe. Smash that like button. Ring that bell for MMA Mania and the ESPN MMA YouTube channel. Steph, we already know how to find you on social media.
You do. Write a lot of nice comments under the video.
Yes.
Nothing mean.
Yes, be sure to comment, subscribe.
Say something nice.
Yes. And Steph, thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you to Harry Terjanian, and sorry to Dwight Gooden. We wouldn't have time for you this week, primarily because we don't know where you are and we have no contact information for you. But until next time, this has been the 2 Point Deduction Podcast.